Oh, so that was no face-to-face after that.
No, hopefully she doesn't have any hard feelings towards me. But, you know.
Hey guys, and welcome to Little Black Book. You know what time it is. Listen, we're taking you guys obviously about Kirsten and Shaq, and I want to say this: they were doomed from the very start. They were doomed from the very start. Okay, they were doomed from the very start because of the way that they both are givers and takers in the relationship. Right? Relationships are all about servitude, and in order for them to work, people need to learn how to serve one another. One of the hardest things that we see within our community, especially with the Black community, is that both men and women are starving and they're inverted in their roles when it comes to what their servitude is. Now, of course, some people say they don't believe in gender roles, and we can fight about that another time. But I definitely believe that the man, being the more masculine presence, is in the position of giving, and the feminine is in the position of receiving. But it's not just that. There is also a give that the feminine energy gives to the masculine that receives, which is, for the first part, is that the masculine should be giving some level of provision, some level of protection, and a level of priesthood, which means speaking and covering and speaking words of knowledge, understanding, wisdom into the life of the woman that he marries, right, or he dates. And then the woman also too is a giver, because she also in times offers encouragement, words of enlightenment, wisdom at key points, helps him to make decisions, provides key information at key times to help him make effective decisions for the family and for them, for the family and themselves, right? So there is giving on both sides. And when we talk about emotional capacity, the woman that has a nurturing, oftentimes not all, but oftentimes women have a more nurturing, creative spirit to them, which they can give to the man to aid in his quote unquote supposedly meant to be more logical, executing, decision making, task oriented type of thought, right? Now, of course, that's not for everybody. There are mix ups and mash ups between everybody, between men and women, and men and women carry different traits that are very strong in other areas. I'm just talking about as a general principle. What I saw with Shaq and Kirsten, the reason why I felt they were doomed from the very beginning is because of the way that they both are taking and giving to each other. And I'm going to break it down for you guys in the next few minutes. So stick around, like this video, share it, subscribe. Okay, I want you to subscribe to this channel. Don't waste time. Click on the button. Don't waste time for it. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? Yeah. And for those of you who obviously rock with us, you already know what it is, baby. You got the minerals. You got the minerals. Stay hydrated. Let's get into the video. So yes, breaking this down, I think what we saw with Shaq and Kirsten, I've kind of said this early in the season on some of the super panels that we do, and I think one of the biggest things I've learned from Kirsten and Shaq is the inversion. The inversion, and I've said this a number of times too, is that I think with Shaq, the emotional capacity that he has, he's very in tune with his emotions, which is not a problem. The problem is the regulatory part, or should I say the wounds that he carries, that he's in need of bandages and a sewing kit, right? There are wounds, I believe, that are from childhood that he hasn't solved or covered or healed yet. And in the relationship, the pressure of a relationship of two people begins to pressurize that wound and begins to open it up further, causing more pain. And I think where I find Shaq in is a position of wanting to receive in the emotional capacity, which is what he was claiming for support, her not being around her work, at the work dues and stuff like that. Now, of course, everybody wants work. I want, when I do my work, I don't want a girl that's going to be at every video that I'm doing. I don't need it to be in every video. But, if let's say you go for awards or whatever, or, she watched a few of your videos, she can tell you, listen, babe, I've been watching a few of them. Maybe this needs to do this, that. You don't need to watch every single video. I like somebody who support because of my love language is quality time. But I don't need it every single time. I don't the strength of the way that Shaq was so impressing on Kirsten to have been at the work do, which wasn't an award show, just a work do situation, is big to me. And I do feel like that was representing his wound, that the capacity that he wants her in is in that almost motherly support area a little bit. Not, you know, and that's not, and that's just a growth thing, I believe, on his part, that he needed that aspect in order to he needed that aspect in order to you know, to be able to function within the relationship. And when he didn't get that, that wound was exposed, and you saw Shaq shutting down, right? And I felt like that was a big thing from the very beginning. Then I think also a big thing was what we saw quite evidently with Kirsten is her inability also to open up. Her wounds in the era of protecting herself. And of course, someone could say, you know, if you provided a safe space, she would open up. That's not always the case, people. Sometimes, and you have to look at it as someone's patience versus your timing in terms of when you feel safe. My patience could run out before your timing kicks into place. But I think what's key in this situation for it is that her lack of ability to open up, her stringent walls was her wound. And that became a hardened rock for Shaq. And that made him feel alienated in their relationship. And that's that trauma cycle we talk about. And so I think from the jump, when we saw how Kirsten treated him and said, you know, rubbing his bald head and saying she's not attracted to him, that was a telltale sign straight away of her creating distance between herself and him. That was a telltale sign of her not being aware of how it's going to impact him emotionally. And then we early on see how Shaq also too, I mean, I can't believe how many episodes have gone past since this episode, since the spa date, where he tried to make her open up, but then when he's making her open up, he's speaking over her. So rather than waiting and giving a bit more time to let her speak, he fills in the gaps of the dark, of the silence. So very early on, we could see that this ain't gonna go well. But the glimmer of hope was the fact that there was some good proximity and some touching, at least from, you know, Kirsten's side and his side, and we thought that maybe they could pull through. But from the very beginning, we knew that something wasn't quite right in that relationship, and they were doomed from the start, unfortunately. What I would say is that if anybody is in a relationship, be very careful of what your wounds are, because oftentimes your wounds are the ones that your wounds are what you go looking for in a partner to lick them for you. Right? To lick the wounds. And so that's what ends up happening. People tend to end up in relationships with people who can lick their wounds rather than actually somebody who, when you're in a healed state, you'd actually want to date. Right? I talk about this quite a bit. Don't date somebody because you're wounded and you want that person to lick your wounds. That won't last long, because eventually when the wound begins to heal over time, you're going to realize them licking your wounds is no longer cute. In fact, it's kind of disgusting. And that's what draws people away from the person. Then later on, they're like, well, we just grew apart. Maybe because that person wasn't the healed version that you actually needed. Not always, but maybe that person wasn't the healed person that you actually wanted to be with. Maybe, you know? So that's a thing right there. You know what I mean? So just a little suggestion in that instance for people as well. Don't try to date somebody just because they can lick your wounds when you're injured. All right. Like it, share, subscribe, click on the bell button for notification uploads. We appreciate it, guys. Stay locked, saluted. We'll see you again soon. Much love.